Welcome back to ZNGP today. On the eve of the German Grand Prix at the Sachsenring, MotoGP Championship leader Marc Márquez set aside talk of lap times and set up tweaks to address a far more serious matter: the tragic death of former Moto2 rider Borja Gómez. Speaking at a brief pre-race press conference, Márquez paid tribute to the 20-year-old Spaniard, recalled their winter training sessions together, and made a heartfelt plea for racing's governing bodies to step up for Gómez's grieving family. The paddock at Sachsenring carries a somber tone ahead of the German Grand Prix following the tragic passing of 20-year-old Spanish rider Borja Gómez. But amid the mourning, Pedro Acosta stood tall, emotionally charged and unfiltered, as he publicly questioned the decision to continue racing after such a devastating loss. As the paddock heads to the Sachsenring for round 11 of the 2025 MotoGP season, Pecco Bagnaia finds himself chasing not only the win but also his teammates' pace. On Marc Márquez's home turf, a circuit where the Spaniard has claimed 8 straight victories, Bagnaia admits the target is moving faster than ever. Here's what he only hinted at off the broadcast. Gresini Ducati's Alex Marquez has been given the green light to start this weekend's German Grand Prix at Sachsenring, just 2 weeks after suffering a hand fracture at Assen. But while the MotoGP title contender is officially fit to ride, the weekend will be tackled session by session, with no promises, no targets, just survival and realism. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Marquez rarely discusses events outside the MotoGP paddock, but the news of Borja Gomez's fatal crash at a junior GP test in Bagnaia struck home. The former Moto2 competitor had been training alongside Marquez during winter sessions at the Spar circuit, and in those moments off bike, the two had shared laughter, advice, and the mutual bond of racers chasing perfection. "I met Borja this winter. When you know somebody who dies, it's even more critical. And we just wish the best for the family and the motorsport world." Marc Márquez's statement. Marquez's voice cracked slightly as he spoke of Gómez's father, underscoring how the tight-knit racing community feels each loss deeply, especially when it involves someone he personally knew. Beyond words of condolence, Marquez issued a direct challenge to the sport's administrators. He emphasized that in tragedies like this, emotional support and practical assistance from federations are not optional. They are a moral imperative. Especially in those cases, all the federations must help the family. This is the most important thing. By naming racing's decision-makers, Marquez reminded everyone that behind every helmet is a family depending on a network of care, and in moments of heartbreak, that network must never falter. Shifting gears, Marquez turned his focus to the Sachsenring, a track where he has reigned supreme between 2013 and 2021. With 2 wins at Assen fresh in his pocket and a 68-point championship lead, he remains the man to beat, but even he acknowledges the weight of expectation. "Every year when we arrive in Sachsenring, expectations are high. Trying to do my best means fighting for the victory, but the most important thing is to score points." He spoke methodically about adapting to changing grip levels, reading the weather, and balancing aggression with caution, a mindset forged over years of Sachsenring success and occasional surprises. With the title race opening a buffer, Marquez stressed that strategy now outweighs outright pace. Each weekend is a new chapter in a long campaign, and while victories fuel momentum, sensible points collection could prove decisive in October. "I need to understand the championship situation. In the end, scoring points is what matters most." Marquez's championship-first approach contrasts with the all-out attacks fans often expect, illustrating the cerebral side of his racing, and why he remains the benchmark for his competitors. From honoring a fallen teammate to setting his sights on another Sachsenring triumph, Marc Márquez showed why he's not only a champion on 2 wheels but a leader off them. His plea for solidarity with Borja Gómez's family resonates beyond the paddock, while his measured championship strategy underlines the maturity that comes with 8 titles. As the lights go out in Germany, Marquez carries more than just the hopes of a team. He carries the spirit of a racing family determined to look after its own. For Pedro Acosta, this was more than just news from afar. The Red Bull KTM star knew Borja Gómez personally. They grew up just half an hour apart. Their paths crossed not only on the track but in their roots, communities, and childhood memories. "I've known Borja since we were kids, because we were like 30 minutes from each other," Acosta said. When asked to reflect on Gómez's passing during Thursday's pre-race press conference, Acosta didn't hold back. His voice heavy with emotion, his message sharper than ever. The European Superstock Championship race weekend at Magny-Cours went on as planned, despite the fatal crash during free practice. Acosta found the decision deeply disturbing. "What the championship did going on with the race weekend was the most unrespectable thing I've ever seen in my life." In a rare moment of raw candor, Acosta took direct aim at the organizers, questioning whether those in charge had considered how it would feel if their own children had suffered the same fate. Motorsport is often guided by the motto, "The show must go on." But Acosta challenged that idea, especially when human lives are involved. He reminded the community that speed and trophies can never outrun tragedy. "Sometimes we say that the show must go on, but sometimes life is more expensive than a championship race." His voice didn't just echo through the press room, it sent a tremor through the entire MotoGP paddock, pressing riders, teams, and federations alike to reassess where respect begins and where spectacle should pause. The FIM did release a formal statement expressing condolences and justifying the decision to continue racing, in his honor and memory. But for Acosta, and many others watching, it wasn't enough. "This weekend, the championship will continue in his honor and memory." Statement from FIM Europe. The contrast between official decorum and Acosta's heartfelt plea underlines a growing debate within the sport. How should the racing world respond to loss, not just in words, but in action? Pedro Acosta didn't just mourn a friend, he made a statement. One that dared to question authority, tradition, and the very structure of how motorcycle racing responds to death. In doing so, he reminded the world that under the helmet, beyond the track, every rider is a son, a friend, a life. And sometimes, the bravest move is asking the race to stop. Bagnaia's season has been a roller coaster. After promising runs in Qatar and Portimao, back-to-back weekends in Le Mans and Silverstone saw him slip off the front group. But since Aragon, he's rediscovered his rhythm, mixing aggressive setup tests with patient racecraft to claw his way back. "In Aragon we improved again. I've put all my energy into trying to find a solution that will get me back on track." Pecco Bagnaia statement. For Bagnaia, every track, from the sweeping corners of France to the tidal waves at Silverstone, has taught a lesson. Now, armed with renewed confidence, he's eyeing the Sachsenring's tight turns to cement his resurgence. Earlier in the year, Bagnaia favored low-mileage, focused tests between races. But he admits that limited running left both rider and team guessing. A shift in approach now sees him logging more laps, good or bad, to generate data and accelerate development. "It's better to do more laps, even if you don't feel good on the bike." It's a simple formula: more rubber meets tarmac equals more answers. And at a circuit where tire feel and flow are king, that extra track time could make the difference. The margins at the front are razor thin, often under a second across a race distance. Bagnaia pegs the gap to Marquez at a tenth and a half or two, a chasm in a sport where victories hinge on hundredths. "Marc is riding extremely fast right now. You have to find that little bit more that might make the difference." Whether it's corner exit traction or brake stability, those elusive ticks of performance are the holy grail. Bagnaia's hunt for them will define his weekend. Last season, Bagnaia set the benchmark on the Lenovo Ducati. This year, he concedes, the roles have shifted. Not only is Marquez faster on identical machinery, but Alex Marquez, on last year's bike, has also outpaced him at times. It's a humbling reminder that success is never static. This year Marc, on the same bike as me, is faster than me. When your closest rival doubles as your teammate, every data comparison cuts deep. Bagnaia's challenge is psychological as much as technical. Sachsenring is a left-hander's paradise, exactly the kind of corner where Marquez thrives. Bagnaia knows he'll have to press early, force Marquez into errors, and hope the reigning king shows human frailty for once. We have to try to stay close, put some pressure on him, even if he makes a big step forward. It's a daring strategy, push a champion at his strongest circuit. But if anyone can do it, Bagnaia will try. Bagnaia arrives at the Sachsenring with a clear mission: close the gap to Marc Márquez and reclaim the pace that made him champion. He knows every lap, every data point, and every tenth counts. On Marquez's home turf, the challenge is steep, but with renewed focus, tire miles in hand, and the hunger of a title defender, Bagnaia is ready to fight for every millisecond. The crash came during a fierce battle for fourth with Pedro Acosta at the Dutch TT. Contact between the Spaniards resulted in Marquez's brake lever locking, sending him tumbling at high speed. At first, he thought it was a dislocation. It wasn't. It felt like a dislocation of the finger, but in the end was also broken, Marquez said. The eventual diagnosis, a fractured second metacarpal in his left hand, prompted a swift return to Madrid for surgery. Now, just days later, he's back in the saddle, albeit cautiously. Upon arrival in Germany, Marquez underwent an evaluation with MotoGP's Dr. Chart and was declared fit to ride. But the green light came with an asterisk: his condition will be re-evaluated after FP1 on Friday. I have no goals, no objective, just FP1. Later on, we need to check again and review. There's no championship push rhetoric here. Alex knows the stakes, both for the title and his health, and will take it one cautious session at a time. With rain forecasted across the Sachsenring weekend, Marquez admits the weather adds complexity to his return. Smoother inputs could help ease the strain on his injury, but the risk of crashes rises sharply. It can help. You need to be smoother, use less power. But also it's increasing the risk of crashing, so it's not good. As rain clouds loom, Alex is caught between physical preservation and performance. Dry or wet, every lap will be a test of resilience. Despite the injury, Alex remains Marc's closest challenger in the title standings, 68 points behind his brother, and 58 clear of Bagnaia. But Sachsenring may not be the venue to close the gap. It may simply be about not losing more ground. I feel that I'm fit to ride, but I will be realistic if some pain suddenly appears. With Assen's damage still healing and Sachsenring's unforgiving layout, this isn't a weekend for heroics, it's one for survival. Marquez rolls into Sachsenring not with bold predictions or podium promises, but with humility and honesty. He'll let his body do the talking, lap by lap. For now, the real victory isn't winning the race, but making it through Friday. In MotoGP's most grueling title chase, even second place must sometimes play the long game. Thanks for watching ZNGP today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!